So group homes are typically adult with disabilities that are licensed through the APD, and you typically are caring for people that have medical needs, and so you're required to have a nurse on staff to provide services to them. And assisted living are you're caring for seniors that have age-related disabilities. They're not necessarily medical needs. You're not required to have a nurse on staff.
Okay.
Your facility will have a doctor that is standards. The doctor will send their nurse practitioners to see the clients once per month, or if you call them because something is wrong, they'll send a nurse practitioner. Sometimes they visit, but typically in the ALF structure is usually nurse practitioners that you see most of the time. And with APD, your staff have to be more trained because they're dealing with people that have medical necessities.
Mental.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for ALF, your staff have to be trained on providing activities of daily living, assisting with medication management and stuff like that. But you're not doing anything that is medically necessary. And when you do need to do something that is medically necessary, because you have a facility doctor, you'll call them to provide those services. That's the difference between the two. To assist with medication, yes, not administer, because we're not supposed to.
Okay. So
Yes. Coming from a generational wealth perspective, I like the buying a home more because you're installing fire alarm, fire sprinkler, generator, reserve gas systems into somebody else's property. And even though you will have a long-term lease, if you rent, typically 5 years or more, the landlord still have a say-so to say, yes, you can rent, or no, we won't be able to rent you anymore. So now what happens to your business? But if you were to start with renting and you strategize after the 5 years, typically the norm is 5 years, you can push for 10 years and see if you can get a long-term lease for that long. If you strategize that, you say, you know, I'm going to get all the education out of the way. I'm going to negotiate a lease with the landlord to where perhaps he can join me as a partner, and instead of me paying the rent while we are in this process, we can have a tenant in the house while we do all of the renovations. And then once we're licensed, then we can ask the tenants to leave, you know, give them the proper notice and things like that. And then you begin the business. That would be the most ideal way of looking at it. Because if you go just like buying a house, during the process, you'll have to pay the mortgage or rent the house.
Yeah.
I tell my clients to rent the house because there's nothing that says just because you're converting this house into an ALF, it can't be rented. As a matter of fact, I have licensed clients who live in the house with their family with kids. So there's nothing that says the house have to be empty. So just like with the mindset of you're buying a home, you're going to rent it out while you are in the ALF process. If you are to rent, I want you to carry that same mentality of negotiating something with the landlord to where the landlord would allow someone to live in the house while you still go through the process. And then once you are licensed, then the person can move out, and then you can actually start marketing and doing all of those things that you need to do to bring in residents. But meanwhile, you are not paying for the rental, and that's the only way out. So if you can negotiate those terms, that would be great. The other way with renting is instead of telling the landlord, I am renting from you, how about having them joint venture with you? Because after that 10-year lease, now we are in business together. This is our business. We're going to pay the bills and split the profit. However, terms that you guys agreed upon. Yeah, so it depends on the square footage. So on average, I've seen people needing anywhere from like 50,000 or a little less or more based on the square footage, like how big is the house. Because for sprinkler system, alarm system, all of these things are based on the square footage. Even the generator, the size of generator that is necessary are based on square footage. You know what I mean? And then like you may have to replace the electrical panel to be able to cater to all of those things. And that's another expense. And then you're looking at your reserve gas system. ACA requires that we have 96 hours of fuel. So like around 200 gallons will do. But all of that that is based on all of those sizes for those systems are based on the square footage of your home. Yeah, there isn't any that I am aware of. And part of the reasons is because in ALF, you make very good money in it. Typically, there's government assistance for things that you're not really going to make that much money in it. You're pretty much just making a difference. But with ALF, you get to make a difference and you still make good money doing it. And so there's not really government assistance per se. I wouldn't categorize it as a government program. So like you are living in the house while you are converting it into an ALF. The house become a commercial property because you're providing services to the public in it. And there's typically changes with your homestead in Florida. So that will change. But I don't think that fits into a government program per se. That's a good question to ask a mortgage lender, and you could feel free. It was a money panel where we had like, I think 5 financial professionals, and some of them were mortgage lenders that talked about those things. So ideally, I mean, if you send us an email, we can still send you some connections. They would be the right people to ask that question. Okay. But I would come from the mindset of I'm buying a home. What I'm going to do with that home, that is my business. It's my primary residence. While I'm living in it, I decide to convert it, putting sprinkler system, alarm system. I'm still living in the house while I'm doing all of this. And then once everything is set up and I'm ready to get licensed, the license process takes anywhere from 6 to 8 months. So you can be in the process for 8 months, sometimes even a year, depending on how fast your contractor move. I don't think the lender or anybody needs to know that I'm going to do all of this. This is my personal business. And once I am licensed, then I'm either going to go rent a condo or an apartment for me to live. But the home that have all these investment in it is pretty much secured. I would go and rent a place for me to stay myself and then let the business be the business. And then once you start generating income with clients coming in, then you could choose to buy yourself another home where you can stay. That's what I would do. So it's not the government who pays you. You get paid privately. So the client write you a check or wire you the money. And then when a client have Medicaid, which is what you would call government, they pay only a small percentage. Like I think right now, the highest paying one is $19.75. So the client will still end up paying you out of pocket money. And on average, you're looking at anywhere from a very low $3,800 to like $4,000, which is on average. And with a 3-bedroom house, you can have 6 clients. You put 2 clients into a room. And then if the room is big enough, you're required to have at least 120 square footage. Let it be much bigger than that. Let it be like 3 or 4 times that size, because you want your client to have like a good quality of life. And when they visit you, they see that, they will pay you for that. And you can also do private rooms. So you're looking at $5,000, $6,500, $7,000. It depends how nice your place is and how you position yourself, which will educate you. You are already a nurse. You're already out there making a difference. So it's just positioning in how nice your place is. Our seniors, they either have the money to pay you or they don't have it, but nonetheless, their financial situation is already established. So when you're marketing and dealing with placement agents and things like that, you can get what you want to get for your room. You can hire them yourself. You can hire them yourself on Indeed. But yes, you can reach out to staffing agencies. Of course, you're going to pay for the help that's coming to you plus the staffing agency's fees. So when in doubt, or if you have somebody who call out on you, develop a relationship with a staffing agency, because they come in handy. But as a strategy for maintaining staff, staff, learn how to hire staff, how to interview on Indeed. For example, you could post a job there. You can interview different ones. And then typically once you find one staff that you treat right, they go to church, they have family members. Usually caregiving runs in the family. So if they are caregivers, their sister is probably your caregiver. As long as you treat them right, you'll have no issues finding caregivers. I will say no if it's like a freestanding. Now, if you had like your own home that you live in and you have, let's say, 2 extra bedrooms and you wanted to take 3 residents and that's your thing for your home that you already pay for and you're bringing in this income as an adult family care home, it's worth it. For as a freestanding assisted living, no. You should go, if you can go for the 6, go for the 6. The same 3 bedroom that can give you 3 clients can also give you 6 clients. You put 2 clients into a room. That's like having children. And I know it's not really related, but it's a metaphor that I'm using. What you do for 1 child, you do for 6 child, right? So it's the same thing. So it's like sometimes we have to shift our mindset because it's easy. We're thinking, I just want to get started and see how this business works. So I want to start small. Well, the same thing you're going to do small is the same thing you're going to do big. So let's shift the mindset. Let's start with a profitable model first, and then it's easier for you to scale. Yeah, well, licensing said you're supposed to have 120 square footage, but practically you need much more than that because you want staff to be able to get around to take care of the residents. You want the residents to be able to move around. You know, there are fire safety issues that may come around. So the bigger, the better, but know that it's much feasible to go for your 6 than to go for 3. It would be much easier for your income. And of course, income comes with quality of life for everyone involved. For your seniors, because now you're able to give your caregiver a raise. You're able to give them a bonus around the holiday season. You're able to take care of yourself. So, you know, it's necessary to make that kind of money to be able to take care of yourself and the clients. You can do 2 CNAs, and it could be 1 CNA plus if you're on duty. Let's say you're the administrator and you're on duty, you're coming in doing like that lunchtime busy hour. You and that CNA counts towards the resident staff ratio. You know, at night things are quiet. You can have 1 and make sure they are awake. You know, they are taking care of the seniors, cleaning, tidy up the place because there's no traffic. Because what happens is there is no company that's coming to cook food for you. So between you and your caregivers is who's cooking the food based on the dietitian's menu, cleaning. It's a family. It's 6 people. It's a family size. So everything is done in-house. And so when the client pay you, they're paying you for all these services, but you're also not hiring outside resource to come and provide those services. Those services are being provided by you and your caregivers.